for the final time this year, welcome to our coverage of TCR Europe. We're in Jarama in Spain, just to the north of Madrid, and we've reached round 12, the final round of TCR Europe, which will decide our Drivers' Champion for 2020. Hello everyone, this is Mark James, once again in the commentary box, bringing you coverage of what we hope will be an exciting climax to this short, compact TCR Europe season for 2020. The rain has held off for us, but we've had a Formula 4 race in the meantime, since potentially you were with us earlier, and the heavens did open for that one. Lots of spray. 24 cars entered for this race, but I am waiting to see how many cars will take to the grid, because if you were with us earlier, you'll have seen an incident very early in the race between Jessica Beckman and Pepe Oriola. Pepe Oriola clutching his ribs, his side, as he came out of the car, and I understand potentially that Pepe has been taken to hospital for a medical checkup, but we will see if that brutal fish Honda Civic is on the grid, whether Pepe has managed to make it back to the circuit and has been passed fit to race. So in theory, we have 24 cars lining up on the grid. We're waiting to see exactly what will happen in terms of who is where and if there are any gaps on the grid. The man on pole position, though, is John Filippi from Corsica, driving one of the target competition Hyundai i30N cars. A slight change if you were looking at the qualifying positions yesterday. One of the Claret brothers unfortunately bringing the car in underweight, failing the weight test at the end, and so it is Danny Nage who will start from second on the grid. And I've just been told, quite literally, while I was reading the first row of the grid out, that Jessica Beckman, whose car was very badly damaged, you saw in race 1, will make the start after some sterling work from target competition, and so Jessica will start from the pit lane. Nicolas Bart is potentially one of 4 drivers still in with a chance, along with John Filippi, of taking the Drivers' Championship. However, really it's a mathematical position only. It really now does come down to 2 drivers, Mehdi Benani and Mike Halder. We'll have a look at them during the green flag lap, I'm sure. There is Jessica's brother Andreas Beckman. Would love to end the season off with a victory, or at the very least a podium finish, after what has been a disappointing year for Andreas. You'll remember, sidelined after that nasty shunt with Julien Brichet in Zolder, and so electing to sit out a couple of races with his arm in a wrist support. We were also hoping for big things for this man, Julien Brichet, after finishing as runner-up to Josh Files in last year's TCR Europe Championship. We did think that Brichet would be there or thereabouts come this race weekend. Unfortunately, a lot of bad luck, I have to say, has gone his way, and Julien not delivering the kind of performance that we were expecting from him over the course of this, as I mentioned, shortened season. It is difficult to think that we were underway, 11 weeks ago in Le Castellet. On that occasion, it was Dan Lloyd who took victory right at the beginning of the season, but it is this man, Mehdi Benani, despite not winning a race, who leads the Drivers' Championship from Mike Halder as we go into the final round. It is 8 points between the two, 40 points on offer for a race victory, which, as I say, mathematically still includes Nicolas Bart in the Audi and John Filippi in the Hyundai, but it is Benani effectively up against Mike Halder for the drivers' title here in Jarama. But it is also important to say, while I was doing my sums at the end of race 1 for the drivers' battle, Nicolas Bart, you see there, second row of the grid, Mehdi Benani on the third row of the grid, together with Sami Tofik further back on the grid, have done enough to secure the team's championship title for Come To You Racing. So our congratulations to the team for sewing up the first of the big trophies from TCR Europe. What will happen for the driver's title, the other biggie, we will have that decided in the next half an hour or so. Pepe Oriola there you see alongside Tom Coronel on the grid. But I'm not entirely convinced whether Pepe will be there. We'll take a look as the cars stream past us on this green flag lap. All 24 cars in theory starting, and indeed as I look down the grid there is a gap where I would have expected Pepe's car to be. 7th row of the grid on the left-hand side as we look at it, as John Philippi and Danny Nage lead the cars off the start line for this green flag lap then. Ahead of us, 15 laps in changeable conditions. And indeed, as I look down the order, there is a gap where Pepe Aureola would have been, so fingers crossed Pepe is okay after that incident in race 1, but he'll be sorry to miss this last race on home soil at Jarama. And so Nicolas Bart, son of Come To You team boss Jean-Michel, together with his two teammates Mehdi Benani and Sami Tawfik, giving the team their victory. But that is the situation in the Drivers' Championship. As I mentioned, 8 points separate Mehdi Benani, our new series leader, from Mike Halder, with Nicolas Bart and John Philippi still mathematically in the points. Dan Lloyd, after a string of poor results going against him, the early series leader, now out of contention. Even if he wins this race, he'll still be 3 points behind Mehdi Benani. Very simply, Mike Halder has to be 11th or higher, but of course that also depends on what Mehdi Benani does, and Benani simply has to finish ahead of Halder. It's the consistency with Mehdi Benani, despite the fact that he's not won a race, certainly in qualifying positions, been on pole twice, and he's always there or thereabouts in qualifying. The consistency of the former WTCR driver is impeccable. Mike Halder, having won 2 races, took over the series lead from Dan Lloyd, but if you were with us earlier, you'll have seen him lock up, possibly unsettled the car over some bumps heading down towards turn 2, the right-hand hairpin at Fangio, and collected the innocent Franco Girolami, both Hondas stranded on the track and requiring the safety car to come into action for a second time, the first one because of the incident involving Jessica and Pepe. And you can see several cars using their wipers. Track conditions damp yet again, not the rooster tails of spray that we saw in the F4 race in between the 2 TCR Europe races, but still very tricky conditions. And might it be, just as we saw in Spa a fortnight ago, that it's an inspired tyre choice that delivers a race victory, a possible surprise race victory here in Jarama. Some drivers going all brave and going for slicks, others opting for a mixture, and what will deliver. There are the guys from Come To You, and there is confirmation. The European Teams Champions, Come To You Racing. Well done, guys. And it's been a tricky job winning it this year, up against some stiff competition from the likes of Target Competition, from Brutal Fish, from BRC and the others. It would be nice to see honours in the Drivers' Championship go to Mike Halder, but nothing is certain in this game. We will find out in the next 15 or so laps. Remember, we can add up to 2 laps behind the safety car to take the race distance to 17 laps. Will we see the safety car called into action once again in this final race of the season? But we are now moments away as the green flag waves. All cars are in position. We look at the starting lights. They go all on. A long race, and that looked like Michelle Halder jumped the start. She was definitely on the move before the lights went out, and right at the back of the grid, that looks as though it's one of the Volcano Cupras that stranded. Marshall's already running to its assistance. Around turn 2, safely for the first time, John Philippi leads, Danny Nage third, Mehdi Benani though in third place, and doing what he needs to do. So Benani already having come up from 6th on the grid into 3rd. And there in the middle of the pack, the 96 Cupra, race winner from both races in Spa 2 weeks ago, and our race winner from earlier today, Mikel Azcona, on home soil, both for himself and the Cupra. What can he deliver as John Philippi heads off into the distance? Forgive me, my timing screen has gone blank. So, Filippi from Nage, from Benani, from Andreas Beckmann, from Julien Brichet, Nicolas Bart in P6, then Azcona, who's already moved up into 7th, Teddy Clary, Sami Taufik, Tom Coronel in 10th, and then the remainder of the points positions, Homola, Mike Halder, Girolami, Davidovski and Michelle Halder. But as I say, I wonder if her start will be examined by the race director. Safely through this first lap, John Filippi leads from Danny Nage, 0.6 of a second, a little over between the pair. And Azcona already up to 7th, as I was saying. And who'd bet against a perfect 100% record in the 4 races he's tackled in this year's TCR Europe? Could it be 4 race victories? Already up another place. Azcona now up to 6 as he passes Bart. You can see the clouds in the background threatening. Again, wipers being flicked into play, and you can see now spray starting to be thrown up as Azcona slides through the right-hander. They head up towards this change of elevation now as they come up under the bridge on the second lap of 15. John Filippi still leads from Nage, from Benani. Oh, several cars taking to the grass. What was I saying about tricky conditions? And almost no runoff areas. Very narrow circuit here at Jarama. Very much an old school circuit, as I was saying earlier. So there is Filippi, there is Nage, there is Benani, there is Andreas Beckmann, Brichet, then Azcona. Behind Azcona, Bart, Teddy Clary, Taufik. And in fact, Mike Halder already passing Taufik. So Taufik, I think, one of the drivers who took to the grass coming up past the bridge. There he is, Coronel behind. And so while Mikel Azcona might be carving his way through the field and looking for another race victory, at the moment Mehdi Benani is doing exactly what he needs to do. In 3rd place, Mike Halder back in 10th. As around the outside, Julien Brichet tries, and there's contact between Brichet and Azcona. Azcona did say that he wasn't going to be getting in the way of any of the championship contenders, but still trying to elbow his way up the... And indeed, there is confirmation of what I was saying earlier on. 53 is Michelle Halder, and it was an obvious move before the lights went out for the lady driver. So a drive-through for Michelle Halder for that jump start, compounding what is a miserable day. And congratulations to the Target guys for getting Jessica Beckmann out onto the track after that damage caused in race 1. So through the spray then, and things definitely getting worse in terms of driving conditions. The wipers now on full time on the cars, the spray being kicked up as off into the distance with no such worries of visibility. There is our race leader, John Filippi, 1.8 seconds clear of Danny Nage. But look at this battle for second place. Nage, Benani, Andreas Beckmann, Julien Brichet. Azcona too is just on the back of that train. And then there's a slight gap between Azcona and Teddy Clary. There he is in the background of your shot. Behind Teddy Clary is Bart, Coronel, Mike Halder still 10th. Then Taufik, Girolami, Homola, Davidovski and Jimmy Clary up to 15th. So the race leader already on his 4th lap. And the gap extends to 2.3 seconds as Mehdi Benani fills the mirrors of Danny Nage, who really would like to finish on the podium at this final race of the year. Benani, though, potentially would like to go out with a race victory. Just a reminder, that's how things are if things stay as they are. Filippi will move up past Halder into 2nd place, but a 23-point cushion between Benani and Filippi. And that would mean the TCR Europe title, driver's title, would go to Morocco, completing a clean sweep of the big titles for Come To You. And still further ahead now, John Filippi, as Naj is now in full-on defensive mode from Mehdi Benani, sliding through the corners. Andreas Beckmann has a mirrorful of Peugeot as Julien Brichet is now millimetres from the back bumper of the Hyundai. Azcona, I think, is biding his time because I think he knows what's coming. No position changes at the moment among our leaders. There is our race leader, John Filippi, 3 seconds now ahead of Danny Naj. Naj, though, coming under the very close attention of Benani as Azcona is trying it on with Julien Brichet. Brichet around the outside, though. It's the Cupra that takes the position. So Azcona moves up another place. That's P5 now for Mikel Azcona. But Brichet not yielding just yet. Look at that. The pair side by side as they go through this little left-hander at Nuvolari and through the right-hand hairpin at turn 2. And Brichet tucked up just behind the Cupra. Second and third still, Naj and Benani. Andreas Beckmann still in fourth. He's the next target on Mikel Azcona's list. But Julien Brichet hasn't finished quite with Azcona either. That's second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth right there. And Filippi on pole right at the beginning of the year, you may remember. Filippi on pole, and disappointment for Sami Tofik. Into the pits and retirement for the young Moroccan driver. But John Filippi, there he is, was on pole right at the beginning of the year in Le Castellet, and would really like to bookend the year with a race victory. Oh, and that is Mike Halder. It's all over. Mike Halder, a DNF in race 1, a DNF in race 2, and that is it. Mike Halder, huge disappointment, and unsurprisingly the safety car being called into action as the marshals go over to help Mike, and Mike happily out of the car. But that is a huge disappointment for Mike and for the team. It looked unlikely, but you never really know, do you? And so it's all over now, bar the shouting. John Filippi will have been told that the current positions are enough to give Mehdi Benani the driver's title and John Filippi the runner-up spot in the Drivers' Series. What a disappointment for Mike Halder. But Mehdi, I'm sure, will have been told by the Come To You team what's happened. He'll certainly see it as the field comes around, and he'll see Mike Halder's car at the side of the road. Mike there on the left, leaning dejectedly against the barriers. And we didn't see the incident, but we can certainly see the aftermath. So commiserations to the Profi Team Halder and to Mike himself. But that is the air of calm in the Come To You garage. They will now know that they've got the double, teams and drivers, as the safety car waits to pick up our race leader John Filippi, who'd built up an advantage of 3 seconds. There they come. And so, at least one, possibly 2 more laps to be added to this race duration. But that won't matter to either Mike Halder or indeed Mehdi Benani. So if you're just joining us, we were almost at the halfway point of this final race of the TCR Europe season. And the driver's title battle settled in dramatic fashion with the retirement of Mike Halder. John Filippi, there he is, our race leader from Danny Naj. Mehdi Benani currently 3rd place, which is more than enough, thank you very much, to give him the driver's title. And something being said by the marshals has upset Mike as we take a look back at some of the highlights of this race so far. So, confirmation of that jump start from Michel Halder, just compounding a dreadful day for the team. A drive-through penalty for Michel. A little bumping and banging in midfield, but the weather conditions not favouring the drivers. You'll see the spray being kicked up. And the only man with a clear windscreen at the moment is John Filippi. And this is where several drivers, including, 25 is Sami Taufik. I think that's what caused his problem, that saw him head for the pit lane. And then this was the bump, there it is, between Mikael Azcona and Julien Brichet, as we just watched to see what I thought that was going to end up as a collision, then as a contact. But that's the moment that Azcona goes past Brichet. Brichet, though, wasn't giving up, as you can see. He was never going to be going round the outside of Azcona at turn 2, but he's very determined, is Julien. And we are under the safety car. And I really don't know if Mike Halder's car is going to be recovered from that position. There certainly doesn't seem to be any recovery action taking place. So 2 safety car periods in the first race this morning. 1 so far, but the safety car's lights go off as I say that, with confirmation that the safety car is coming in. They're leaving Mike Halder's car, it would seem, where it is. And so, are we adding 1 lap potentially to race distance? Let's keep an eye on the lap counter at the top of your screen. But John Filippi this time will manage the restart. Mikael Azcona did so brilliantly on 2 occasions this morning. Can John Filippi do the same this afternoon? Our race leader then had built up a lead of 3 seconds, a little over, in fact, from himself to Danny Nage, but he's going to have to do it all again. And Nage, though, right with him. Filippi puts the hammer down, he heads out of the final corner, he'll see the green flag ahead of him, and we are racing once again. Indeed, 2 laps added to race distance, and so 17 laps will count. John Filippi, Target Competition Hyundai, leads from Danny Nage, BRC Hyundai. 3rd is Mehdi Benani, there he is, Come To You Racing Audi. 4th is Andreas Beckmann, Target Competition Hyundai. 5th now, Mikael Azcona, Volcano Motorsport, Cupra. Then it's Julien Brichet, who's coming back at Azcona. Brichet brilliantly coming up the inside in the Peugeot, and Brichet retakes the position. Or does he? He leaves the door open just a fraction too wide, and Azcona goes through. So, this is a battle that's going to continue, potentially. And back comes Brichet again. Azcona, though, has the line coming up the hill under the bridge. And that is a brilliant scrap. Brichet getting it all squirrely on the tarmac runoff, and Brichet retakes the position again. That's the scrap between 5th and 6th currently. Brichet 5th, and Azcona getting it all sideways as he goes round the long way, but Brichet holds the position. Claret, Teddy Claret, just behind the Cooper as well in that the red striped Peugeot. Congratulations to Julien. He's certainly not giving up that position, is he? So then, John Filippi leads once again by nearly 9/10 of a second from Danny Nage. Mehdi Benani 3rd, Andreas Beckmann 4th, Julien Brichet 5th, there he is. Mikael Azcona 6th, Teddy Claret 7th. Then behind, Coronel has got past, in fact there's Coronel and Girolami, and I think one of the Clarets should have been there, I think. Hard on the brakes again then for this turn 2. So there is Bart, there is Teddy, Coronel. Coronel P9 currently, Girolami in the PSS Honda is P10. Jimmy Claret has dropped back slightly, had gained ground, and he's now 11th ahead of Davidovsky, then Homola, then Navarrete and Hernando. The two new entries from SMC Junior Motorsport, the two Peugeots currently on course to score points. Dan Lloyd, though, P16, and a frustrating end to the year, a disappointing end to the year for the man who'd led the series for probably the first half of the year, Dan Lloyd, and looked to be cruising to the TCR Europe Drivers' title. Not to be, however. Brichet, though, has shown Mikel Azcona who's boss. A good battle between them as the two Hondas at the bottom end of the top 10, Coronel and Girolami. Currently Coronel ahead of the Argentinian. So again, no changes in the leading positions though, but Julien Brichet having a look up the outside of Andreas Beckman, just trying to unsettle the young Swedish driver. And so Brichet targeting Beckman's 4th place. Filippi starts his 10th lap, 1.15 seconds ahead of Danny Nage. Benani 3rd, Beckman currently 4th. Oh, in fact, no, as I say that, Julien Brichet, there's definitely a bump there. That's where Mike Halder had his problem this morning. So both Brichet and Azcona go up the inside of Andreas, which is bad news for the young Swedish driver. He's now side by side with Azcona. No respect given to our 2018 champion by Andreas. And so Azcona once again has to settle for second best. Nicolas Bart, it is, just behind Azcona, as our leader once again builds a gap. Filippi now 1.5 seconds clear of Danny Nage. But this is fascinating. It's this scrap between, whoa, Beckman getting it sideways, then Azcona, then Bart sporting yet more body damage. And Bart, having got past Azcona, who's sliding all over the place, potentially the tyre choice hasn't worked in the Spaniards' favour this time. Conditions do seem to be deteriorating. Will that cause any impact further up the leaderboard, I wonder? John Filippi leading now by 1.5 seconds or thereabouts. Danny Nage 2nd, Benani 3rd. He doesn't need to keep Julien Brichet behind. He knows, or he should at least know from the team, that he's got the title in the bag. And this was where you just see that little bump there which unsettles the car. Brichet saw it the last time around, and Mike Halder definitely saw it this morning, and Brichet's got the move. He powers past the Audi. The lights flash on Benani's car, but Brichet shows his moment beautifully and moves up into the podium positions. Flinging the car sideways, that's one of the SMC cars stranded in the gravel, and that is Enrique Hernando in the predominantly white car. And because of the position, and was that Leonov we saw heading off after his disappointing start, stranded on the grid. And from the position, will we see the safety car once again called out, or will the yellow flags be out until the end of this race? John Filippi then, 1.6 seconds now ahead of Danny Nage, as the marshals are out to Hernando's car. Electric windows, very classy. But you have to say, in that position, are they going to be able, and in fact already the recovery truck's there, so potentially no need for another safety car intervention, which is good news. And so, can Julien Brichet move even further up the podium positions? Brichet now all over the back of Danny Nage's Hyundai. This would be a good way to end the season, a disappointing season by Brichet standards. We also expected more from Danny Nage, remember, and Mato Homola in the two BRC Hyundais. And Brichet trying to go the long way around, which is never going to work, but has the cutback worked? Brichet alongside the Hyundai. And I think he's done it. Brichet moves into second place, but Nage, though, is not giving up. He's got the line, but Brichet, helped by that little squirrely move from the Hyundai, Brichet is now in second place. Nage refusing to give up, as is Mehdi Benani. But you have to say, this has been a great drive from Julien Brichet. And as I say that, he's rally crossing over the grass, coming under the bridge. And that means that Danny Nage has lost out. But Mehdi Benani is back now into the podium positions. Look at that slide from Brichet, and Benani dives up the inside. It's all changed once again on the podium positions as Mehdi Benani seizes his chance and dives up to take second place. Brilliant stuff. 4.5 laps or thereabouts of this final race of the season remaining. And apart from the man out front, who's now going to lead once again of 3.5 seconds, there goes John Filippi, but it's Mehdi Benani back up into second place ahead of Julien Brichet. Behind Brichet, it's now Andreas Beckmann, then Nage. And Nage alongside Mikel Azcona, who I think has got the place. So, a thrilling conclusion to the championship is in prospect. We're only now a few laps away from the end of the season. There goes Mehdi Benani, our champion-elect. There is Julien Brichet. Azcona is up alongside Beckmann. They turn in. Bart is also just behind Beckmann. And Azcona yields, only just, but he thought better of it. Andreas keeps the position, but up the inside, no, not quite. This is a brilliant conclusion to the season, you have to say. Even though we know already who is our driver's champion, nobody is giving up until the checkered flag falls. Benani potentially too far behind John Filippi to end the season with a victory, but that's certainly not stopping anyone behind him. Mikel Azcona, I think his 100% record has come to an end. Azcona still 5th, behind Andreas Beckmann and the 3 podium finishers, or the 3 podium places I should say. There is Benani, there is Brichet, there is Beckmann, then Azcona, then Bart, then a slight gap to Nage, then Coronel, who's now up to 8th, Girolami's up to 9th, Teddy Claret 10th, Davidovski 11th, Jimmy Claret 12th, then Homola, Lloyd is up into the points, and Manu Sapag is 15th in the final target competition car. Where is Jessica Beckmann? I know she started late from the pits, but she is still running 1 lap down. Now, even though the wipers are still going on Brichet's car, track conditions seem to be improving. There isn't the spray we saw earlier in the race. And Bart really coming back at Azcona in the final few laps of this race. Azcona not having things his own way by any stretch of the imagination, as Beckmann now closes up on the back of Julien Brichet. Podium positions far from decided then. This is the scrap for that final podium step. There goes Filippi, briefly. There goes Benani. The gap between the pair coming down, actually. It's now just over 2 seconds. And with bodywork flailing, there is Nicolas Bart. Bart currently P6. And we just take our breaths slightly as a hair, I think it was, went across the track. Brave. So there then is our race leader, and that gap definitely coming down. It's 1.7 seconds now. Had been 3.5 as Azcona goes up the inside of Andreas Beckmann, chooses his moment, squeezes Andreas out. I think there's the slightest of contact between them, but Azcona setting up for the right-hand final corner at Tunnel. So Azcona moves up another place. Can Azcona get past Julien Brichet? Based on what we saw earlier, I wouldn't make any bets on it, as the bodywork is now flailing on Andreas's car. Andreas now coming under pressure from Nicolas Barth. Behind them, Coronel is up alongside Danny Nage. So that's the battle for 7th going on. And up the inside, very nearly. Barth saw the gap, went for it, wasn't quite close enough, and Danny Nage is in the barriers at the end of his season, and another bitter blow. And that is in a fairly compromising position, I suspect. What will the race director do? I'm looking at my timing screen for any suggestion of a safety car intervention, but Danny not yet out of the car. 1.6 seconds out now between first and second, so another 10th off that gap between Gianfilippi and Mehdi Benani. Third is still Brichet, and that's where Danny Nage went heavily into the barriers. And that was when he was back down with Coronel and the others. Yellow flags in Sector 1, but no sign of a safety car. We'll keep an eye on that situation with Danny Nage as Gianfilippi crosses the line to start the penultimate lap. 1.3 seconds now, so something like 3/10 been shaved off on that previous lap by Mehdi Benani. There is Davidovski alongside Teddy Claret, Jimmy Claret then in the number 21 blue and white Peugeot. There is Mato Homola. And Lloyd behind Sapag, a slight gap to him. And indeed yellows, but no safety car. So there's Teddy. There is Davidovski. And there is Jimmy with Nage's teammate Mato Homola just behind. Gianfilippi then. 1.3 seconds now, the gap between first and second. Gianfilippi on course to finish as runner-up to Mehdi Benani. As Danny happily is out of the car. We're always pleased to see that as Martin Rieber spins off. So this race still full of incident right the way to the checkered flag, but more disappointment for Martin Rieber. Filippi, Benani. Rieber rejoins. Brichet, I was going to say, still holding Azcona at bay. Yes, there's the battle for third going on then. Brichet still third at the moment, Azcona still fourth. Then a slight gap to Nicolas Barth should go through next. Yes, there he goes, bodywork flapping. Andreas Beckmann, then Tom Coronel behind Beckmann. Let's watch this battle for third. Through the bumps, just unsettling the cars ever so slightly. Barth, Beckmann, Coronel right up behind. So something like 3/4 of a lap or thereabouts stand between Gianfilippi and his maiden victory in TCR Europe, and of course Mehdi Benani and the Drivers' Championship. Can Julien Brichet hold on to keep Mikel Azcona at bay and at least salvage a podium finish from the final race of the year, getting it all sideways coming up under the bridge? Keeps it off the grass this time though. We're into the second half of the lap. Sliding through the corners, but I think Julien Brichet has done enough to keep Mikel Azcona at bay. Benani too seems to have settled. 1.7, 1.8 seconds, in fact the timing screen changing as I look at it, between first and second, and so Gianfilippi, there he is, Now a couple of corners away from taking his maiden victory. There is Benani, there is Brichet, there is Azcona. So, around the right-hander at Monza, around the right-hander at Tunnel. There's just the sprint for the line to come. And that's it. John Philippi takes the victory. For target competition, Mehdi Benani second in the Audi for Come To You. Julien Brichet indeed holds off Mikel Azcona. You can see the delight. Come To You do the double, drivers and teams championship. Behind Azcona was Bart, Andreas Beckmann, Coronel Girolami, Teddy Claret. Davidovski there finished in 10th ahead of Jimmy Claret, Mato Homola, and it'll be Dan Lloyd, Manu Sapag and Navarrete in the final of the point scoring positions. But you can see the delight among the Come To You guys. And Annette, I know, will be in the pit lane waiting to speak to Mehdi Benani, who, as was pointed out to me earlier by several people, will have won the title without actually winning a race. It is the consistency that's delivered the title. Jean-Michel Bart there on the right side of that shot. You can see just how much that means to him. They'd already posted pictures of them celebrating the team's title after race 1, but they've now got the driver's title to add to that haul of trophies to be taking home to Belgium from Jarama. 1.341 seconds in the end was the gap, but it's all academic. Philippi drove really well, managing the restart, and deserves the victory. You have to say that Benani would have liked to win to finish off the season, but I think he's more than happy. Tom Coronel too, having contested 3 of the 6 rounds of TCR Europe this year, and there is the confirmation that Benani, with 285 points, finishes ahead of Philippi in the Drivers' Championship. Bart also moves ahead of Mike Halder, so Come To You have 2 drivers in the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship. Mike Halder bitterly disappointed, 242 points, 4th in the series ahead of Dan Lloyd, equally frustrated I'm sure, who finishes just 3 points ahead of Andreas Beckmann. And Homola and Naj, teammates fittingly, finishing on the same number of points. Teddy Claret beating Julien Brichet, he will be pleased at that. Peugeot possibly doing a bit of head scratching to see what they can do next year to take the title after coming so close last year with Brichet, who just couldn't pip Josh Files at the end of that race in Monza. So the marshals again picking out the top 3 and heading them down towards the finish line as finally Mike Halder gets his car recovered. And I'm sure Mike will be watching this coverage back. And as I said in the first race, a hugely popular figure in the TCR Europe paddock this year. A very late decision to switch to the TCR Europe campaign rather than TCR Germany, and it oh so nearly came off for him. But the man at the right side of your screen is the man that is TCR Europe Champion 2020. Mehdi Benani joins Josh Files and Mikel Azcona as winners of the TCR Europe title in its current format. Remember that there have been others in various look at that, in various shootout formats over the years. The TCR Europe Trophy, Pierre-Yves Cortal won it at Spa, I'm trying to think, and Aurélien Comte won it when it was a one-off event at Adria. John Philippi then will be finally able to celebrate a race victory. We sensed that he had the potential after going quickest in qualifying right at the beginning of this shortened season at Le Castellet at the end of August. But finally it's come right for him. He rewards target competition with another race victory, which has been, you have to say, quite rare this year for Target. And there is one of the twins. They're celebrating, or they're splitting their operation this weekend, because they're also running a car in TCR Italy. There is Walter Gummerer, there's Dad, congratulating John. But on the right side, there is Annette with microphone poised, and Mehdi Benani just posing for pictures, waiting to be congratulated by Paulo Ferreira, who is the promoter of TCR Europe. Mehdi puts his hat on. He's already got his mask on. And we'll hear from our new TCR Europe champion very shortly. Let's just get confirmation, first of all, of the results of this final race of the season. John Filippi beating Mehdi Benani, with Julien Prichet finishing on the third step of the podium ahead of Mikel Azcona, Nicolas Bart, Andreas Beckmann, Tom Coronel, Franco Girolami, so easy to say Nesta, Teddy Claret and Victor Davidovski. That's your top 10. And the final points positions taken by Jimmy Claret, Matteo Homola, Dan Lloyd, Manu Sapag and Fernando Navarrete. Leonov, Michel Halder, Martin Rieber and Jessica Beckmann finishing down the order, and a number of DNFs, Danny Nage, Hernando, Mike Halder and Sami Taufik. Okay then, let's hear from our new TCR Europe champion. Mehdi is with Annette.
Massive congratulations to Mehdi Benani, champion TCR Europe in 2020. It has been a challenging season for you, but you must be over the moon.
Yes, really, it's exactly what you said. I'm really over the moon. It was very tough all year. We had some bad luck and we had some good luck also. So thanks to God for this result. Thank you. I have to congratulate a lot Come To You team and also the support of Audi behind. It was really very, very good year. I want to tell you also that I'm very, very happy that I have one Moroccan driver with me, Sami Taufik, very fast driver, big talent. And we are really very proud to be two Moroccan on the top 10. And I was also so happy about all the stuff. Congrats to the winner of the race, John Filippi. He deserved a lot for it this year. And really, I have to say, just I'm very, very happy, you know, to be European champion in this Corona situation. Sometimes even to go out from Morocco, it's already a win, because the paper that we need, the authorization that we have to do, and also we didn't do any tests this year, and this is not helping a lot because in Morocco everything is closed. So thanks to God a lot. I have to thank all the things, you know, around me. First of all, the support of the King of Morocco, that I had it since first day that I start my professional career. All my partners behind me, and really very, very happy. You know, I will realize that I think tonight, because it's going to be hard for me to sleep, because even WTCR, when you see it's European Championship, here you see a lot of WTCR driver. And really, to be European champion, it's wow. If you tell me to sign about it for the beginning of the year, I will say WS.
Thank you so much. Congratulations once more. And now let's talk to our race winner, John. John, please come to us. It might be a bittersweet victory for you because you just missed the championship title.
Doesn't matter. I think I won the race. It's a good thing. It's a good to finish the year and the season well with the team. Was not easy from the beginnings due to some difficult on the BOP. I think was clearly this year the most TCR the most handicapped in since the beginnings of this category, and yeah, it was not easy to find the good performance in any race. The point that I was very happy is that I finished all the race. Means that we did a very good job with the team, especially on the fiability of the car, myself, to know where I have to take the risk and when I don't have to take the risk. But unfortunately, missing some points. So yeah, at the end we missed, but I don't have to forget where I come from. From the three last year was a very, very difficult season for me, and this year it was just pleasure of driving, and this is what I do. That it's my passion, and this is the most important for me.
Thank you so much. The podium is waiting for you.
Thanks, Annette. Thanks to John. Thanks to Mehdi. And I know how much that means to Mehdi Benani. We spoke earlier in the year for an article for the TCR magazine, and I know that he's very proud of what he's been doing in Morocco and is looking forward to doing lots with young drivers. But that is confirmation that Mehdi Benani is the drivers' champion of TCR Europe for 2020, finishing ahead of John Filippi and Nicolas Bart. With Mike Halder, you have to feel for him, dropping from 1st to 4th over this final race weekend. Dan Lloyd 5th, Andreas Beckmann 6th, Matteo Homola 7th, on the same number of points as Danny Nage, and then it's Teddy Claret and Julien Brichet finishing in 10th place. Doesn't that say it all? Mikel Azcona, only doing 4 races of TCR Europe, finishes 11th overall in the standings with 157 points. Congratulations to him. Let's take a look back then at some of the highlights of this final race of the 2020 season. Congratulations then to John Filippi for finally taking his first race victory in TCR Europe. And congratulations to Mehdi Benani, our drivers' champion of 2020. It's been an unusual season for an obvious reason, but we crammed it all into 11 weeks for you. And congratulations to Paolo, to Susanna and the others for delivering exactly what they said they would. 6 rounds of TCR Europe. Thanks to everyone to for keeping us safe, and thanks to you for watching. We do it all again in 2021, starting in Monza in April. We'll see you then, but from Jarama, it's goodbye.